Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Webinar Wednesday. This is a training that's being provided by NASCASP as part of the Weatherization Plus Health initiative. This afternoon's webinar, Lead Safe Weatherization, will be presented by Mike Vogel, who is the director of the Montana Weatherization Training Center. Before we begin today, I'd like to just quickly go over a few housekeeping rules. All attendees on the line are currently on mute. So if you have any questions during this webinar, you will have the capability to ask those questions using the chat option in the webinar toolbar. We do ask that you would direct all of your questions to the organizer, who will then ask the questions to the presenter on your behalf. In order for us to keep to our schedule, if we don't have time for all of your questions today, we will respond by email following the webinar. A link to this PowerPoint, as well as the recorded webinar, will also be available shortly following the webinar. At this time, I'd like to thank Mike for joining us today, and I'm going to turn the mic over to him.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're at on this presentation. I appreciate the opportunity to, to join you and walk through, a topic that, has been around for quite a number of years, but recently revised last fall and, posted on the WAPTAC website as a full training curriculum earlier this year. So if you have to jump off early, if you have not seen this, the materials that support this webinar, I encourage you to go to the standardized curriculum on WAPTAC, and you'll find the pieces. And what we're going to do this afternoon or this morning is just walk through some of the, the parts and pieces that are essential, for all weatherization programs to be in compliance with. And also hopefully try to clarify some of the linkages that go with lead-safe weatherization, in particular, the EPA renovation, repair, and and paint rule. So you should see, a little definition, a slide. Most of these slides, by the way, come directly out of the curriculum. Some I've added, for today. But in any case, what we're talking about here and is a set of protocols from and minimum standards from the Department of Energy that we need to be using when we're disturbing various components of homes that were built before 1978. And so if you're working on homes constructed before 1978, that's the target housing that we're talking about. And if we are disturbing leaded surfaces of the components, not the entire house, just the components that we're working on, we have to use lead-safe weatherization, techniques. And again, as of April 10th, 2010, this does dovetail with RRP, or the EPA renovation, repair, and paint rule. If you've taken a look at this curriculum, you'll already know that there are 3 lessons to it. If you've dealt with lead-based paint in the past, if you've gone to a HUD course, if you've gone to a EPA certified renovator school, you'll find certainly the content in Lesson 1 and Lesson 2, as a good review for you. The lead overview is essentially, what is lead, why it's used in paint, or why it was used in paint and so forth, and health effects. You certainly, if you've taken the various classes, before, and you need to, even if you've taken lead-safe weatherization, in the past, you should take a look specifically then at LSW minimum standards, because that's where the requirements are uniquely spelled out, and the differences between LSW and RRP, and perhaps some other standards. If you've taken an RRP class, a couple of things that we always mention in that class, and the same thing with this curriculum. When we're talking about lead-safe weatherization, we're not talking about the process of abatement. Abatement is the purposeful removal of lead, in a structure, on the component. That's not what we're doing here. We are when we're working on these components, our main objective is to minimize the generation of debris and dust, and certainly control the spread of that dust. And again, a reminder, we're only dealing with the components that we're working on versus the entire room or siding or whatever the case may be, only those components that we're working on. It's not an RRP class training. DOE does require that those folks that work with weatherization, they must be trained uniquely in LSW and understanding the difference between EPA, RRP, and LSW. And lastly, it's not an Osha course. Osha, as probably many of you know, has additional rules, has a standard called the lead in construction standards, and that also deal with this topic. But there are certainly worker safety considerations that LSW includes, but you also need to be separately in compliance with OSHA. Another thing that I want to guide you to, that in the curriculum it will make reference to 4 videos that are out there through WXTV online. If you're not familiar with that, go to WXTV online.org, and you'll find 4 episodes that would support this content. One is on 12 steps to working lead safe, and it does compare RRP to LSW, the similarities and the differences. And then there are 3 application videos, one on lead testing, and the other one on interior containment, and lastly, and most recently, one that was sent out 2 weeks ago on exterior containment. So as good refreshers, since this LSW has been around for a good number of years now, for those folks that need a little update, a little refresher, those 4 videos would be very, very good. Going back a little history here, I think most people that have been in weatherization recognize that LSW has been around for a number of years. In the weatherization program, notice 01-10 that goes back to May 10th, 2001. This is spells out 8 elements that initially dealt with LSW, including the initiation of a benchmark training curriculum that was done. There's a number of elements, other elements there as well, but just a little reminder that we're not talking about something that just happened in the last couple of years as a result of RRP. It has been out there for a good number of years. The weatherization program notice 02-6 replaced the initial one, and some of those guidance are still used today. Along the way, there's some other history that has taken place, but given the time, we're not going to go through all of that. But a key piece to some of the direction that DOE was going in the last dozen years or so, this was very much influenced by RRP that did become effective April 22nd, 2010. And so this is where the dovetailing of LSW and RRP comes together, and where renovation the renovation portion of that RRP does include weatherization. And within that rule, it defines what we call certified firms and certified renovators, of which weatherization needs to be in compliance with that. As a result of RRP, actually prior to RRP coming out in 2010, DOE and the Health and Safety Committee was very much in the know of RRP, perhaps not all of the elements of it, but as you can see with Weatherization Program Notice 086, 096, these were efforts to bring weatherization, in the know of RRP, prior to its initiation, April of 2010. So these are just some references as far as some background. And then, of course, most recently, 11.6, in the weatherization program, in that notice on health and safety, the entire matrix of health and safety considerations for weatherization. Again, our LSW is spelled out there. When as a training provider for RRP and other lead courses in addition to LSW, I guess I like to show how these things sort of fit together. And if we're taking a look at lead-based paint, there are two rules, a rule and a standard that no matter if DOE had LSW or not, there are two sets of guidance of compliance that we need to be aware of. RRP is the umbrella of the lead-safe work practices rules. So everybody, DOE, states, tribes, they have to be in compliance with EPA RRP rule. And of course, workers also need to be in compliance with Osha lead and construction standards. So you have these two entities that are out there no matter what. We have tribes, we have states that can be more aggressive. They can be, go beyond, both OSHA and RRP. We can never go less than that. So in some cases, we have states that are more aggressive. They have more stringent standards with lead-safe work practices. HUD certainly does. Anyone that has, whether it's a weatherization agency that may have some HUD funds with Section 8 CDBG, some leveraging funds with weatherization. If you've ever done HUD work, you know that the standards with lead-safe work practices are more stringent than RRP. And we have communities across the country. We have organizations across the country that have standards that are more stringent. And here's where we have the Department of Energy. We have additional and more stringent rules than RRP. And again, I want to remind folks, as long as these rules are more stringent, and we're in compliance with EPA RRP, we're fine. So we're not, weatherization is not overly unique in the fact that we have some additional standards out there or minimum standards that go beyond RRP. And that's what this training focuses in on, and that's what the webinar today focuses in on. If you are familiar with the various elements of lead-safe work practices, this list would appear quite familiar to you. It's a sequence of steps and standards that must be followed by construction companies, by renovators, by weatherization crews. And if you've taken the RRP class as a certified renovator, and you'll recognize these for sure because they make up a lot of the skill sets that are involved with RRP. In red on this slide, you see 4 that are uniquely, they are beyond RRP, and these are ones that we definitely want to pay attention to, and they really define the difference between LSW and RRP. Those that
before you go on, we actually do have 2 questions.
Yeah.
We do have someone on the line whose staff has completed RRP training as appropriate to their jobs, and they also do an annual review of the LSW program, and they're asking, should they continue in that practice?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When we'll see in the when we look at the criteria of worker training, both of these are required for weatherization.
Okay. And then second. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The next question.
The next question is the rule prior to 1978, or is 1978 included?
It is. That's a question that's often asked. It is pre-78. I do know of some groups that are including 78, but the rule says pre-78. So EPA defines it as homes built before December 31st, 1977. It, at least in the eyes of EPA, you would not be out of compliance if you did not include 78. The reason that 78 is that magic number, it was in 1978 that the Consumer Product Safety Commission banned the ingredient of lead in residential child-occupied, facilities. So, what date was that, and to determine if that house that was built in 1978 contains it or not, they just go by pre.
Okay.
Any more, Raymond?
That's it for now.
Okay, so here we have this shopping list, and I'm going to go through a number of these. The first one is, addresses partly that question that was asked, about training and should you continue. Yes, when you have new workers that come into weatherization, they're going to be working on pre-78 homes. First of all, those projects must be, you must have a EPA certified renovator, on board, and that the agency or the contractor that's used for that has the certified renovator must be a certified firm. That's a registry through EPA. But workers, monitors, contractors, and the certified renovator must also have LSW benchmark curriculum training. That's what this standardized curriculum that's on WAPTAC is about. Okay, to understand these these differences. So again, to answer the question, should you continue doing what you're doing? Absolutely, because again, both of these, the minimum standards of LSW apply to weatherization and EPA. Go back to the umbrella. What this means as far as a certified renovator, there are a number of things that uniquely that certified renovator must do to be in compliance with EPA, and because DOE must have, DOE jobs must have a certified renovator. Of course, it's the EPA curriculum that a certified renovator is, must be trained under. Not every job, or I should say, LSW jobs, RRP jobs, all workers do not need to be a certified renovator. As long as there is a certified renovator on the job to do these various tasks that are listed here. Some of it is supervisory. The certified renovator is just supervising the workers that they're doing it correctly. In other cases, the certified renovator must actually do the work. They can't pass that off to somebody else. As far as if you are going to be doing testing, it's the certified renovator that's going to be doing the testing. Someone that's doing the visual inspection, that's the certified renovator. On the other hand, the cleanup, that could be done by a non-certified worker. Someone that's doing what we call a cleaning verification, that has to be done by the certified renovator. So there is a very distinctive role for a certified renovator, and that is a separate training than than LSW. So that's the certified renovator has to be in compliance with that. These are the skill sets, the list of skills that EPA requires of a certified renovator. Those that have been through that course, they have demonstrated that they are competent, that they have the competency to do these 11 things. We're not going to go through these. We're going to talk about some of these, but I just want to give you a little bit of a flavor for those that are not certified renovators. What some of these are. The second requirement of LSW and RRP is pre-renovation education. We're not just simply showing up at the door and getting started with LSW work. We are doing some educational work. We are providing and verifying that the owners and occupants are understanding what is about to take place with LSW. In this publication called Renovate Right, you see the publication in the lower right-hand corner. There is a form that needs to go be signed and go into the client file for 3 years. So this is a step, and this step after notification, no more than 60 days can take place before the weatherization, is done. This notification can also be done by certified mail within 7 days. So that's very similar. This is where LSW and RRP are the same. Testing, same. We're not required in LSW to do testing, but if we do testing, we must follow EPA guidance here. The testing must be done either by a certified renovator, if it's of certain types, using EPA-recognized test kits or paint chip sampling, or if it is done through another means, it has to be done by a certified lead inspector or risk assessor. And an important point here is that testing is not required, but if testing is not done on a pre-78, then you must assume the presence of lead with the work that you're doing and apply all lead-safe work practices. Okay? And a little test question for everybody is, if you're taking the RRP class, is what is the federal limit for lead in surface coatings? And the answer is 1 milligram per square centimeter, or greater. or by weight 0.5%. That's what we're looking for when we're doing testing is, will these testing kits or methods reveal more than that? WXTV has a great video that deals with these different methods. Paint chip sampling, or what EPA calls their recognized test kits. There's two of them. One is the paint swabs by 3M, and another one's called D-lead. Those are qualitative test methods. They're relatively inexpensive. They're very available, easy to use, but a certified renovator has to use those. On the other hand, if you need a quantitative level of lead, as of October 2011, EPA does permit paint chip sampling, and that's a quantitative method of which you have to work with a certified lab, and there is a list with EPA that they will provide you as far as that particular lab. You can hire someone as well if you want to do X-ray fluorescence testing. That also is a quantitative method, and but for that you have to use a lead inspector risk assessor in order to do that. So you do have some options, and by choice of cost, most folks are using the two in the center there, the lead checks, the swabs, and the D-lead, both chemical reactive types of tests. Okay?
Mike, two more questions.
Yes.
Do you know of any lead test swabs which are not producing accurate results?
Yes, I do. You do not want to freeze these swabs, and you do not want to put them on the dashboard of your van during the hot sun. That will degrade the quality of them. We have found that if the test is taken properly, if the sample is is cut properly, to receive the chemical that's in the D-lead or the swabs, that and they're shaken properly and mixed properly, there's no doubt that there are some ways that you can negatively affect the quality of the swab, but they do work, and this is where why EPA requires that the testing is done by a certified renovator that has been trained on the use of that swab. So the three instances that I have seen where I'll list four that I've seen in the past. Prior to the refinement of the swabs a couple of years ago, you could get a false negative off the sulfates that may be in plaster and in gypsum. The other is just poor preparation of the sample could affect it. You haven't exposed all the layers of paint in a way that the swab is picking up lead from it and reacting to the liquid, and then a swab that has been ruined by excessive heat or freezing. Was there another question?
Yes, there is. If a weatherization program is using federal funds, do they need to comply with the lead-safe rule, and if so, how?
Well, that's what this is all about, absolutely. If a weatherization program, at least in the context of LSW, is federally funded by the Department of Energy. And that is what this training is all about. Lead-safe weatherization is a federal initiated requirement. So if a weatherization program is getting federal dollars from, and keeping in mind that how does a subgrantee get dollars. It's getting it from the state, which is getting those dollars from the Department of Energy. So it is federal. And if not, at the very least, that agency must be in compliance with RRP and OSHA.
Okay, thanks. And one last question: Does the Protect Your Family from Lead in Your Home pamphlet serve the same purpose as the Renovate Right pamphlet?
Absolutely not. If folks, when RRP came about in 2010, Protect Your Family from Lead in Your Home, that had been used for many years prior to that. But if you're still distributing that, you would be out of compliance. You need to recycle those and get current copies, of Renovate Right. Renovate Right, and you can get that from the EPA website. Go to epa.gov/lead, and you will find that publication, of which you can find a PDF and copy that, and it will have the form in there as well.
Okay, that's our last question for now.
Okay, the next thing that when we're setting up for an LSW job, we must post signs and barriers. We have to restrict access of the occupants, and we need to post signs so that the occupants are they're not right in the midst of the projects that we're working on. So this has to be supervised by a certified renovator. The work can be done by a non-certified renovator. So there's an example of a sign which is required. Then we get into containment, and keep in mind that we haven't started the weatherization job here yet. We're setting up. We're restricting access. We're putting up signs and barriers, and the next thing that we're going to do is set up containment. And here is a definition of containment: a system of temporary barriers used to isolate. The work area. The work area is the zone that you're working in. You need to have a zone that you can set out your tools, that you can handle debris safely, and and so forth. And we need to contain that area so dust doesn't drift out of that area and get into clean areas. Typically when we talk about containment by way of materials, we're talking about polyethylene, a minimum of 4 mils, preferably 6 mils, and because we have to clean that. We have to clean that plastic by vacuuming and wet cleaning, and if you've ever tried to vacuum anything less than 4 mil with a vac, it ain't going to happen. 6 mil is very, very common. And you see the benefits here, and predominantly it's to prevent the spread of dust to the rest of the house or neighboring properties. Containment, is required for exterior jobs and interior jobs. We don't want to get the neighbor's property dirty. We don't want to, impact them negatively. And we certainly, again, do not want to impact, the rest of the house that has nothing to do with the job that we're doing. How much containment? It's really up to the certified renovator. This is the call of the certified renovator. And it's going to depend on a lot of different criteria. Some are listed here. The size of the job. Obviously, if you're impacting the entire exterior of the house, many rooms interior, that's a larger job than just simply drilling a few holes, in the siding or interior. So logically, it makes sense that the larger the job, more containment. The more aggressive tools that we use. Hand tools create less debris, working wet versus dry. If we have shrouded tools, all of these will make a real difference in the amount of dust that's generated. So again, it's up to the certified renovator, to know the kinds of jobs that they're doing, the types of tools and methods that they're going to use, and make a judgment as far as how much. The location of the work, obviously, if you're drilling an attic access hatch, it's high up on the ceiling versus cutting in a return air vent, down lower on the floor or on the wall, the amount of dust may be about the same, but as far as it's spreading, throughout the, the room that it's in, a major difference there. So again, the difference in the level of containment. The duration of the project. If your weatherization project goes on for, multiple days, you better do a better job with containment because you're probably going to be leaving that containment up, and you certainly do not want occupants to get access to it. You certainly don't want dust and debris at the end of that day drifting to areas that are clean. Matter of fact, you would clean that area before you left it for the day. Certainly, if you're allowing occupancy back into the house while the work is being done, and especially with kids and pets, believe me, they will be right there when you leave, or probably during the job. So you're going to have a tougher time, maintaining the integrity of that containment. So it's going to require that you do a little bit more, containment. Bottom line, as the last note says, you're responsible for making sure that dust does not migrate out of the containment, and you're responsible for cleanup at the end of the job. Very unique to LSW are levels of containment. And in a way, this is not very much different from HUD. If we were not working for DOE weatherization, if we were not doing HUD work, RRP says that lead-safe work practices begin when we disturb more than 6 square feet of interior painted surface per room, or more than 20 square feet exterior. HUD says 2 square feet, and LSW says that containment is always required. And this is known as level 1 containment, all right? So by definition, it essentially says that LSW level 1 is required in pre-78 when less than 6 square feet interior painted surface per room, or 20 square feet of exterior. So the bottom line, the takeaway here is you will always have some level of containment. And here is a list that's in the curriculum of things that may fall, these are small jobs, very small jobs, in some cases. But if we are, disturbing a painted surface, it is this level 1 is required. So what is level 1 by way of examples? A lot of people get a little paranoid over this, that they have to do containment, because they're often thinking of some of the old methods that were used, and abatement, of which sheets of plastic were laid all over the room, interior or exterior, and so you had all of this containment, all this plastic. That's really not the case. Here are some examples in the curriculum that give us some examples of that. And it can be a simple catchment bag. As an example, when we're doing sampling, we would always want to retrieve and capture, the particles that would come off the sample that we're cutting. Well, that can be done with a Ziploc baggie directly, below the area that we're cutting. The same thing with drilling a hole or something. It is not going to require, a big sheet of floor plastic. So there's, again, it is the determination of the weatherization, crew, the supervisor of that job, the crew chief in this particular case, that would say, here is the level of containment that we need for this particular job. So I think the takeaway that I want to leave you with is that, it is not all the time the last option that's listed here, placing 6 mil polyethylene sheathing immediately below the work area. But again, every job is different, and the bottom line, it has to be contained as a level 1. Okay, so this is uniquely different than RRP. Note that I said that it's the crew chief that's going to make this determination. I did not say the certified renovator because this falls out of RRP rule. It's uniquely LSW with this. Level 2 is where RRP starts. LSW level 2 is where RRP starts, and it says if you are disturbing more than 6 square feet per room interior or more than 20 square feet exterior in homes built prior to 1978, we must contain it. We must contain it. So that's where RRP starts. All right, and we're looking at a variety of different methods as well. More aggressive than certainly level 1. It requires covering of all horizontal surfaces, constructing perhaps barrier walls, what we call poly walls, sealing doorways and windows, closing them and sealing them off, covering HVAC registers, a variety of things that are a lot more aggressive than level 1 because these are larger jobs. Okay, so we have a couple of things that are always going to be a level 1, even though size really does not make that much of a difference. If we're doing window and glass replacement, we always will contain that. Because and it may be contained interior and exterior, simply because when we're removing glass, when we are removing a window, we have the influence of exterior winds and and so forth. Demolition, if we're just ripping out a fairly large area, it's just a lot more destructive, and we have to be careful about that. And then if we have certain power tools that we're using that are not attached to a shroud and the debris is collected in a HEPA vac, these are greater considerations for more containment. Interior containment means that we also need to be very conscientious of any furnishings that are within that that room, especially those that are within the work area. If these could be removed, that's the best choice. If they cannot be removed, they need to be covered on all edges, the top, the sides, the bottom, so that dust cannot be get behind or underneath that that piece of furniture, or the 1,000-pound piranha aquarium or something like that. You're probably not going to move it, so you have to be covering that and making sure that it is integrated into your floor containment. That is a criteria of all lead work. As far as a minimum, when we are talking about a minimum amount of containment for level 2 containment, anything greater than 6 square feet per room interior, this is what is required. Okay, extending 6 mil poly from the work zone. And you see in this illustration that we have defined a work zone, an area that comfortably the worker or workers can stand and work, stow their tools, have room for packaging up debris and so forth. And it's from that parameter that we measure out 6 feet in all directions, and that becomes our minimum as far as containment. A couple of key points here. We secure tape of the proper type, whether it be painter's tape, frog tape, Gorilla tape, duct tape, whatever is not going to destroy the paint or the finishes. We tape above the baseboards, not to the baseboard, but above the baseboard, so dust cannot get behind that baseboard. If it's carpeted if the plastic is uncarpeted, we must tape all of the edges. If it's a solid floor, and if we're going out 6 feet in all directions, just simply taping above the baseboard is required. But if it's on carpeting, all edges of that containment have to be taped. Okay? Okay, some other things, and we're talking interior at this point in time, and that is, within that work zone, and in some cases that work zone may be quite large. We need to close and seal off all windows and doors within that work area. We need to make sure that we don't have airflow that's just going to pick up that dust and move it all over the place. So we're going to maybe a combination of shutting off the airflow, shutting off the furnace during that time, or sealing over it so that we also do not get dust flowing into the ductwork, in addition to be blowing all over. So just going back 2 slides, this 6 feet in all direction is required as minimum, and removing the furniture or covering the furniture is required, and the closing and sealing off windows and doors is required. Beyond that, again, it's up to the crew chief and or the certified renovator to look at more aggressive containment. And poly walls or poly containment walls is an example. Using the extension and expansion rods and putting up poly walls, that is an option. It's not required. But if you want to minimize the area that you're impacting, there is not a better way to do it than using expansion rods and plastic, to do that. RRP says, though, if you cannot attain 6 feet in all directions, you must use poly walls over that plastic. So as an example, let's say that you can only go 4 feet in all directions. Then in that particular case, the poly walls or going vertical is required. Okay, so there's a lot of great products out there that make this very, very easy, and crews that have been doing it for a while know exactly what I'm talking about. In some cases, interior containment, we're going to create a containment door. And it's a 2-piece door, typically, that it's a split door that, it's just 6 mil poly, duct tape, and a flap that's integrated into our floor plastic. That's one of the skill sets that a certified renovator would go through in their training for RRP. That is a snapshot of interior containment. And the main takeaway here is, for you is the fact that there is this level 1 containment. Anything less than 6 square feet per room interior or 20 square feet exterior, you must apply containment. Now, more specifically, on exterior, there are some numbers that we need to pay attention to from EPA, and it tells us that for exterior work, we need to cover the ground with protective sheathing 10 feet, in all directions from, from the work surface, and that we have to, if it's possible, to have a setback of 20 feet. And signage and barriers, the signage must be in the language that is understood by, the neighbors, the neighborhood, because here the signage is not just simply for the occupants and the workers; it's for people that are are walking on on by. So we have some criteria here that we need to pay attention to. Obviously, in some cases, you're not going to get a 20-foot, setback. You may be out in the street or pedestrian traffic, and you need to be sensitive to that. But you do, in that particular case, if you cannot achieve that, do the best that you can, and certainly do a better job of barriers and and signage. So that people are not just stepping into the work area. Just like interior, if within our work zone area, if we have doors and windows, we need to close them and cover them. The two photos on the left are done correctly. The photo on the right, where they're doing some drilling into sidewalls, and you have 4 windows there that have not been sealed off, that would definitely be problematic. We don't want that dust and debris outside getting into window sills, troughs, frames, and and so forth. So we need to make sure that their windows and doors are closed and covered. New rule as it applies to RRP and LSW says that if we cannot achieve 10 feet of containment exterior, we must use vertical containment. We still have to use ground plastic, but instead of 10, we use whatever we can, and then we must have vertical containment. Now, this picture sort of shows, not the most typical, home next to one another, but in many of our communities, we do have neighborhoods of homes that are very, very close. And we need to be sensitive of the home that's not being weatherized and debris that possibly could, impact the occupants and the safety of that household. So in this particular case, obviously, we cannot, if we were doing some work on the side of the house on the left, we would not be able to bring our 10 foot of plastic out. And so we do what we can with plastic on the ground in between, and then one method would be to drape plastic from the roof line down to the ground. There's a lot of room for innovation and ideas as far as how you do achieve some of this vertical containment, but EPA tells us that we must do it. Here's some, for those that were at the New Orleans National Conference a year or so ago, we had quite a number of different options for exterior vertical containment. And this is one, using a lean-to, using 2x4s that are staked, using extension rods, works very, very well. You'll see some of these examples in the WXTV exterior containment video. One that we really like is using folding wall brackets that can be a couple can be used. You can, they're 300-pound capacity spring-loaded brackets that are very nice as far as framing off and holding plastic. It's easy to put a containment doorway in it. Again, that's another example that you'll see in this WXTV exterior containment. option. Here's one that one of our agencies created quite a number of years ago, and they use it. It's a huge poly bag or a catchment. They use sort of a rector set of PVC piping and create this stand of sorts that just simply holds plastic. The plastic is held with quick release clamps, and I don't have a picture of it, but this can telescope up to a second level. Again, you'll see that in the curriculum and in the WXTV episode. Another requirement, and of course here at this point in time we still haven't done any work, but before we do work we must protect the workers. The containment is for protecting the occupants, short and long term. Now this is where we do get into some of the requirements of Osha that we have to protect our workers. So RRP says the minimum that we need is a PNR or an N100 disposable respirator, okay, and then a disposable suit that protects our street clothes. We don't want to work in just regular street clothes because of take-home contamination. So we have our workers could look just like this guy, and the other piece of this would be disposable head cover. This guy with a weatherization agency here, and we would certainly recommend the one-piece disposable suits, good quality suits that have a hood already built into it, with booties. And again, this is a skill set that you would do, in a training. There are some work practices that we should not be involved with. This is a list of some that are in the curriculum. Others are listed there as well. But we're not reusing our containment. It's a one-job material. We're not reusing our disposable suits. We're not sweeping up, dry sweeping dust. We're vacuuming that with a HEPA vac and doing wet cleaning. We're not leaving debris, at the work site. So a number of these things, we are not allowed to do. There are some tools that we are, and practices that we're not allowed to use. We cannot use open flame torches like a propane torch, to burn off paint. We can't use a heat gun that's set above 1100 degrees. There are certain tools, grinders and planers, that we cannot use unless they are attached to a HEPA vac. So there is a list in the training materials that includes power sanding, power planing, power grinding, needle guns, abrasive blasting. None of these are tools that can be used. They're on what EPA calls their prohibited list, unless these tools are shrouded and the debris is contained in a HEPA vacuum. Essentially, the tool is sucking all of that debris into a HEPA vac. We can use wet methods. We don't want to use wet methods if it's within 1 foot of an electrical outlet, but in other cases, especially for smaller jobs, we can use containment foams, properly known as shaving cream. We can use water mist. Those help, but it's really for much, much smaller jobs. And you probably remember that wet methods were on the suggested containment list for level 1. HEPA is it's one of the few pieces that of equipment that you're required to have, that you're going to have to purchase. Here's where I'm going to use a term that hopefully most of you realize I'm not talking about the manufacturer of, but industrial shop vacs cannot be used even if they have been modified with a HEPA filter. It must be a manufactured HEPA vac that you're using. So it can't be modified. This is one of many, many examples of HEPA vacs attached to a circular saw. And so even though a circular saw is not on the prohibited tool list, it certainly makes the difference in the amount of containment that you're going to have to set up. If you can capture that debris coming off that saw and go into a HEPA vac, that's what we're talking about. And by definition of HEPA, what we're talking about is a high efficiency particulate air filter that captures, as you can see there, 99.97% of particles that are 0.3 microns or larger. A reference point of that would be, the diameter of your hair is 80 to 100 microns. So HEPA vac is doing one heck of a good job of capturing, that vacuum. Here we have some tools. None of these tools are on the prohibited list, but these are all very common tools that we use in weatherization, and every one of these have been modified to accommodate a shroud that would be attached to a HEPA. And in honor of the recent retired Cal Steiner, you see Cal down there using a homemade shroud, the Joe Hall shroud, and nothing more than $5 or less of materials that use a plunger head, but it is capturing that dust and debris from becoming airborne. Is what you want. Number 8, looking at after the work is being done, is cleanup. And in your training, you'll go through the various elements of cleanup. Number 3 is real key here for today, and that is it's HEPA vacuuming and wet cleaning. And another piece of equipment that you'll want to buy, whether it comes with your HEPA vac or not, is a paddle wand. The illustration on the left, you see a long extended wand, a paddle wand, so it makes cleaning quite simple. So HEPA vacuuming, wet cleaning, cleaning high to low, and cleaning 2 feet beyond containment is what is required. I'll cover some of these other ones here in a little bit. As far as disposal, and when you're cleaning all of this stuff up, you're bagging it up, you're wrapping it up and securing it. For household waste, EPA allows us to dispose of it as household garbage, as long as it is taken off-site, it's not left at the residence, and it's secured either at the landfill or at your shop or in a vehicle so that the public cannot access it. And when it is being transported, it must be covered so dust and debris is not just blowing around the neighborhood. For cleanup, any wastewater that's generated, it must be filtered. We use paint filters for that. The paint filter in the debris goes into our debris bag, and the filtered water then is poured down the toilet. So those are the, you have your solid waste and your water waste. Those are the correct way of dealing with it. Just as a point of reference, if you are doing, not LSW work, but if you were to do RRP work for non-residential, you cannot store any more than 220 pounds of that waste before it's classified as hazardous waste. But for the sake of weatherization, working on homes, EPA has a provision that it can be handled unless your local, or your state regulations say something different. You can dispose of it as household waste. If you've been counting, we're on LSW 10, so we're just about wrapped up here as far as the process here. After cleanup is done, and there's actually more than a couple of slides here that we need to talk about with cleanup. We're cleaning containment area first, and then after containment is removed, then we're cleaning the final area, the remaining area. And after that final area has been cleaned, a certified renovator is going to do a visual test. I should say a visual inspection. And it could be at this point in time that, if it's determined by the certified renovator that, it has not been cleaned properly 2 feet beyond containment, or there's dust and debris that has gone way beyond that work area, the space would have to be re-cleaned. So it could be the second time, of cleaning, and if that's a fairly large job, you may be around beyond 5 o'clock here. After it has been approved by the certified renovator that it is clean, then the certified renovator does a cleaning verification. Okay, a cleaning verification is using a wet wipe and to wipe an area no greater than 40 square feet. Unless it's a window seal, and then there's one wet wipe per window seal, and these wipes are compared to a verification card. It's essentially another visual, but it's compared to the wipes on the card that you see in the photo to the right. If it's dirtier than the lower one of the two, then it would not pass, and it has to be re-cleaned. So that could be cleaning number 3, depending on how good the job was done. After that, it's determined that it would be adequately cleaned, and you have to wait until it's dry, and then wipe it down with a dry cleaning cloth. So the end of your day could get a little bit long if cleaning by your crews is not done, well the first and the second time. I don't think I put anything in here about clearance testing. Some states do require clearance testing, and that is a quantitative method. You do have to be a dust sampling technician in order to do that. It's another training that EPA provides. Most of your RRP training providers do that. We do provide that training, at our center. Or you can use a lead inspector risk assessor if they are around. But those tests you have to send off to a lab, and they're going to be a lot more expensive. Last step here is an LSW is documentation, and that one is a little bit more aggressive at what DOE requires with documentation. In addition to these forms, photo documentation is required. And obviously, if there's some notes that you need to take that would, help your monitors, ascertain whether or not you did a good job, or if it was some oddity within that job, you'd certainly want to take some additional notes. But all of these, this documentation, it's required, and it must go on file for 3 years. And it must be maintained at the certified firm office, okay? So we come back to a term that we really haven't covered a whole lot, but the certified firm is, and that would be a weatherization agency perhaps, or a contractor that is doing the work on behalf of, of an agency. Enforcement, LSW in and by itself, Enforcement would be these things would be enforced through monitoring. Your state monitors looking at this and saying, hey, you need better training, more training, and those types of things. But since LSW for pre-78 jobs falls under RRP, it is enforceable. It's enforceable through EPA. And EPA periodically sends out notices as far as enforcement action. And from EPA, it does translate into money. So here are 3 levels of enforcement as far as suspension, revoking, or modifying a firm certification. It can also result in fines per violation up to $37,500. And those firms knowingly and willfully violating, you can see subjects for an additional $37,500 per violation or imprisonment. So it could be a fairly hefty, penalty. And it's EPA that's doing this level of enforcement. There are 12 states out there that the enforcement is done not by EPA, but it's done by the state. These are called EPA-approved states. You can go to the EPA website, that same website that I gave you before for Renovate Right, epa.gov/lead, and you will find a list of those states that are EPA approved. And generally what that means is that, the state DEQ, I'll call it the DEQ, Department of Environmental Quality, whatever that means for your particular state, would be doing the, enforcement. With that, Raymond, now, as far as wrapping up, we have a little bit of time. Not that we have to spend it all on this topic, but if there's some questions, we can take more.
Okay, great. So we do have a few more questions, and while we're going through those, for any of the participants on the line, if you have questions, you can begin to type them in using the chat feature and send them to the organizer. So Mike, our first question, is an N95 mask no longer compliant?
It never was. An N95 would be more for larger particles. That would be for mold spores, as an example, would fall under that category. But an N95 was never, whether it's LSW or RRP, on the list. So going to the the P100 disposable, you're probably not going to find them in your local hardware store. You may, but you may have to get those online or from a safety supply company. They cost in the neighborhood per disposable respirator in the neighborhood of $5.50 to $7, depending on how many you get and their availability.
Okay, thanks, Mike. We also have someone on the line who works for a government agency that performs LIHEAP. They don't perform the work themselves, and they use outside contractors, but they're wondering if they need to be certified as a government agency.
If they are farming out that work, they're soliciting a bid to have others do that. It's a very common practice. Some folks may say, well, gosh, we just don't want to, have certified renovators. We don't want to be a certified firm. We're going to hire that out, and you can do that. In the provisions of your bid, though, in your bid document, you certainly would want to, specify that, they are looking for a certified firm in compliance to EPA RRP rule, and which, has certified renovators, to do the work, and of course specifying the unique work that you do as a weatherization program. So the answer is no, they would not. They would not. And the training that we've done around the country, we actually, there's a number of groups out there that farm that out, but to their credit, they're often still, attending, the RRP training and the LSW training. Obviously, it is your liability. You are responsible for how the funds are being used, and you still must be, making sure that the funds that are being used are in compliance with weatherization, program notices. So, and that brings us full circle back to this this training to make sure that everyone knows what's required of them.
Okay, thanks. And the last question we have is, how is the home's age determined?
The home age, first of all, if you cannot figure it out at all, you just assume that it is a pre-78 and you go with that. A couple of different methods. You could, if you really wanted to pursue this, go to the local courthouse and find out, you could find that information. Sometimes there may be identification in the electrical service panel box. The one thing that, without verifying, though, you don't want to just simply go by the owner or the renter saying, "Oh yeah, this was built in such and such a year." In other cases, if it's a neighborhood is going to give you a pretty good idea, but unless you can verify, you must treat it as a pre-78.
Okay, it looks like that is the last question that we have for now. So if anyone on the line has any more questions, okay, we just got an additional question. Let's see here. Okay, so the slides from today's presentation will be made available online. All of our participants today will receive an email that will have a link to the PowerPoint as well as a link to the recorded presentation. It'll also contain information on future training opportunities as well as a feedback questionnaire. We would ask that you would take time to fill out the questionnaire that you receive, as the answers to that will be considered as we are designing future trainings. Our webinar series for next week will not be taking place, as we will be hosting our online virtual conference. And so if anyone on the line is interested in the virtual conference, you can find more information on that at www.wxplushealth.org. Again, that conference will be taking place beginning on the 18th of June. So at this time, I would like to thank all of our participants on the line today, as well as Mike for joining us as our presenter.